it down with the leader in kills for USC women's volleyball, Allie Batenhorst.
USC women's soccer returns home, but still not yet back on campus.
And USC football heads to Maryland this weekend looking for its first Big Ten win after dropping their last 2 games. All that and more coming up on Sports Scene.
Happy Wednesday and welcome back to Sports Scene. I'm Grace Schneider.
And I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Devin Diet. And we have a great show for you guys today, so let's jump right in. It was a big weekend in college football, headlined by Oregon beating Ohio State in its first conference showdown. Let's see how the Big Ten fared in this week's AP poll. Last week, 6 Big Ten teams landed in the top 25 of the AP poll. Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State are all neck and neck as the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ranked teams in the country. Undefeated Indiana is 16th after their bye week. Illinois is coming in at 22nd, and Michigan just made the list at 24th. We'll see if anything is shaken up next week after another set of Big Ten games this weekend.
This is from 45 again in overtime. And it's wide left. He missed it.
Last Saturday, the Trojans hosted the number 4 ranked Penn State Nittany Lions at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. In a back-and-forth battle, the Nittany Lions edged out the Trojans in overtime following a game-winning field goal. A difference maker for the Nittany Lions offense was Tyler Warren, the 6'6", 260-pound tight end. Warren caught 17 passes for 224 yards and a touchdown. This stat line set a Penn State record for receiving yards, and his 17 catches were the most by any tight end since 1982. With a creative offensive scheme, Warren threw a pass, caught a pass, and even received a handoff in the win for the Nittany Lions at the Coliseum.
After the game, head coach Lincoln Riley discussed the Trojans' inability to finish games this year and why the responsibility largely falls on him.
It always falls to me. When have I ever shielded responsibility? I always take it. I'm the head coach. It's all my job. So believe me, there ain't nobody taking more responsibility than I am. So I don't know where that line of questioning comes from. We've got to do a better job at the end of games. I have to do a better job. Our coaches, our players, because we're doing too many good things to put us in situations where we have the lead and we can win. But we got to get paid off for it. And we got to be able to finish, and it all falls on my shoulders at the end, and that's part of why they call me head coach.
Time at USC, Riley has had an overall record of 22-11. His record against ranked opponents stands at 4-8, and he's currently 0-2 versus top 10 teams. As the Trojans shift their focus from college football playoffs to bowl game chances, it's important to note that Riley has a 1-1 record in bowl games. So football has taken a turn for the worse, and any sort of optimism that has come from the LSU game has definitely diminished. What do you guys think USC's biggest issue is here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know there's O-line issues, there's play calling issues, and we have holes in our defense. But I think something no one is talking about is where is Zachariah Branch? I mean, at this time last year, so in the first 6 games of last season, he had 310 yards in kick returns, 303 yards in punt returns, and 5 touchdowns. This year, he has 92 yards in kick returns, 15 yards in punt returns, and 0 touchdowns. Now, I'm not trying to point the finger at any one person, but I think he is just an example of key contributors from last season that just hasn't shown up this year.
Yeah, Devin, I think you make a good point, but I think why we're not seeing as much of Zachariah Branch is because we have huge offensive line issues. They're not playing how they should, and I think that's due to the constant coaching changes that we've been seeing. There's not enough time for these players to kind of develop and establish chemistry, and I think that the offensive line is the most important asset when they have to play together. So USC definitely will need to get into the transfer portal and get some of those key players that have been developing over the years.
While I agree with both of you guys, I think the blame has to go on the guy manning the team. That's Lincoln Riley. You can blame the O-line that's improving, very young, a lot of freshmen on that line. They're doing better and better every single week. You can blame the defense for the missed tackles, 15 against Minnesota, but they've improved every single game. You can blame Miller Moss for missing some throws, but the real blame should go on the $110 million man. That's Lincoln Riley. It has to go on him. 8 of their last 13 games have been lost. That's unacceptable for a Trojans team and a Trojans program and franchise that is so touted.
Yeah, it's definitely a coaching issue, but at the same time, Lincoln Riley's kind of doing the best with what he has. He has a whole new defensive coaching staff. I think it's going to take time, Liam, so I don't think we can totally put the blame on Lincoln Riley. But now let's go over and send things over to Casey to hear about some Trojan history. Casey?
Thanks, Grace. Welcome back to This Week in Trojan History, where we dive in on classic USC matchups from years past. Roll the tape. Let's throw it back to 19 years ago yesterday.
Liner going to try to sneak it ahead. He got in. Touchdown, SC!
The play you just saw would later be coined the Bush Push, as would-be Heisman tailback Reggie Bush aided reigning Heisman quarterback Matt Leinart in finding the end zone. On College game day in Notre Dame, the #1 ranked Trojans triumphed the 9th ranked Irish to win their 28th straight game and move to 5-0. A 7-point game at halftime, the teams went back and forth as time dwindled. Matt Leinart fumbled the ball out of bounds near the goal line with under 10 ticks to play, prompting Notre Dame personnel to storm the field. But the rest is history, as USC was awarded one more play, allowing the Leinart-Bush connection to seal the game's fate, and a Trojan victory. USC's 2005 campaign would end in a Rose Bowl loss to Texas in the BCS title game, and all 12 wins would be vacated by the NCAA, along with Bush's Heisman, ending the team's dynasty bid. The historic rivalry between Notre Dame and USC has certainly had some classics. Make sure to tune in weekly to hear about USC's past thrillers on This Week in Trojan History. But enough about the glory days. Liam, who does USC have on tap this weekend?
Thank you, Casey. After a heartbreaking home loss on Saturday, the Trojans will have to feel the flow of the Big Ten Conference as they travel to the DMV to take on a tough Maryland Terrapin squad. The Terrapins' offense is charged by a receiving crew that is one of the best in the Big Ten and a secondary that touts the second highest interceptions in the conference. The Terps average nearly 30 points a game and 300 passing yards. Quarterback Billy Edwards Jr. will be at the helm for the Terps on Saturday in their pass-first style offense. Despite either side heading into the game an even 3-3, the Terrapins have put up close games against the Michigan State Spartans and the Indiana Hoosiers, who are two tough opponents. The loss to the Hoosiers was a close 42-28 in College Park. If the Trojans have learned anything over their past two Big Ten games, it's that they shouldn't sleep on any Big Ten opponents, especially the Terps in Maryland on Saturday.
Speaking of the Terps, let's meet some of Maryland's key players. Starting off with the 6-foot senior running back Roman Hemby. Hemby has rushed for 360 yards this season, averaging 5 yards a carry and running in 3 touchdowns. He's also had 16 catches with 1 in the end zone, showing his versatility in the air and on the ground. The redshirt junior is calling this year his bounce-back season after not putting up the numbers he had hoped last year.
Well, my Maryland player to watch this weekend is none other than senior wide receiver Ty Felton. Felton is the Terps' leader in receiving yards with 719 so far. Against Villanova, he had a career-best 14 catches and 157 yards on the season. And on this season, he also has 55 receptions and 5 touchdowns. The star receiver is the first Maryland player to start a season with 4 straight 100-plus receiving yard games. He dominates the Big Ten stats, leading in receptions and receiving yards. Ty Felton is an impact player for the Terps, and the Trojans definitely need to keep an eye on him.
Well, those are good picks, Grace and Devin, but I have to flip it to the defensive side and talk about another senior, defensive back Lendon Miller. The 6'2", 195-pound secondary player is tied for second in the country with 4 interceptions on the year. Miller is a lockdown corner who you do not want to throw in the direction of, who also totals 24 tackles on the season. Keep an eye on number 1 in the Terps uniform this Saturday. Well, we talked about the keys for the game on the Terps end, but now let's discuss overall what we think either side can do in this Big Ten battle.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game. It's kind of a must-win for USC. They've been kind of snowballing down in the losses. So USC, if they want to stay alive and have bowl game chances, they need to win this game. I want to look at my player to watch, Ty Felton. He's a player who's kind of been flying under the radar, but he leads the Big Ten in three different categories in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving yards per game. He's definitely one to watch, and I'm super interested to see how he lines up with USC.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a must-win game for USC, but I also think it's a must-win game for Maryland as well. They're coming off of an embarrassing loss to Northwestern, and it's also their homecoming game. So I think that they're going to have all forces moving forward trying to win this game. I think if USC wants to win this game, they need to stick to running the ball. They are averaging 5.6 yards per carry, which is 12th best in the country, but they're only rushing 39% of the time, which is just unacceptable. We need to have better play calling. We need to control the time of possession and make smart plays. And if USC does that, then they can win.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more on either points. You got to up the carries for sure. 20 for Woody Marks. That's very good. You got to keep that going. And only 3 for Quentin Joyner. One of those was a 75-yard touchdown. You got to think you got to get him a little more involved. You talked a lot, Grace, about the passing offense for the Maryland Terrapins. What's a way to get around that? You got to get to the quarterback. That's been an issue for USC these past 6 games. 6 games and only 6 sacks. By the way, 2 of those were by Eric Gentry, who's no longer playing.
Yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. USC also had plenty of opportunities against the Penn State Nittany Lions. They had 3 interceptions, and they just kind of failed to convert their turnovers into touchdowns. So it'll be definitely an interesting one to watch this weekend. But USC women's volleyball is only on the up after taking a big win against crosstown rival UCLA. We talk what's next. And men's basketball is back. All that and more next on Sports Scene.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latina voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all. Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dímelo Ahora.
Radio and podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy o LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latina-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop?
Let's find out. 1, 2, 3.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
There's a new pet.
Chia.
Chia Pet, the pottery that grows. It's fun and easy. Soak your chia, spread the seeds, keep it watered, and watch it grow. And now grow a whole collection of fun with Chia teddy bears, puppies, kittens, rams, bulls. There's even a chia tree to keep your pets company. Chia Pets and Trees, the pottery that grows.
The Chia Pet and Chia Tree are available at Kmart, Rite Aid, Ames, and Woolworth. Makes a great gift.
The first AP poll rankings for the 2024-2025 women's basketball season has been released. Coming in at number 1 is the reigning national champion, South Carolina, who only lost 1 key player from their undefeated season last year. They're followed by UConn, where Paige Beckers will return for her final year of college basketball. And USC sits at number 3, largely thanks to returner Juju Watkins, who is the Big Ten preseason player of the year, as well as the addition of newcomer Kiki Iriafen. The WNBA season still has a few days left, but with the release of these rankings, the unofficial start to the college season is here. Women's basketball team may be ranked high, but that's not the only team in USC rising up in the ranks. Let's check on how women's volleyball is doing this season. Grace?
Thanks, Devin. USC women's volleyball is hitting their stride at the perfect time. After rallying for a 5-set win over UCLA, the Trojans head into the next week at the 16th spot. USC battled back from behind after winning the first set and dropping sets 2 and 3 to the Bruins. In front of a record-setting crowd of over 7,000 fans, the Trojans took set 4 and ripped through a 10-3 run to close out the 5th set. Last week, USC traveled to face the 11th-ranked Oregon Ducks, but the Ducks swept the Trojans in 3 sets. However, the Trojans have proven themselves against other top 25 opponents. USC took down the now number 14 Minnesota Golden Gophers. The Trojans had a dominant third set, helping them win 25-11, which helped secure their 3-1 victory. So the keys of the success of the Trojans, none other than Nebraska transfer Allie Batenhorst. The graduate outside hitter sat down with our very own Scott Hills to discuss her season with the Trojans so far.
Hi everyone, my name is Scott Hills and today I'm joined by Allie Batenhorst to talk a little bit about USC women's volleyball season so far. Thank you so much for joining us today, Allie.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So let's get right into it. You know, coming from a program as successful as Nebraska, can you talk a little bit about how it's been jumping right into a leadership position on your team here at USC?
You know, I've had 3 years at Nebraska, so I've kind of had a lot of experience, especially us moving into the Big Ten. I've kind of had that experience as well. I think just transitioning to this program, I think it was really smooth. I think the girls were really welcoming, and I think the leadership role kind of felt natural considering all the different, we didn't have a lot of seniors on our team last year, so I think a lot of the juniors had to step up, and I was kind of in that role as well a little bit. So yeah, it's been a smooth transition.
You have a pretty large following on social media. A lot of your fans love your content with setter Mia Tuaniga. Can you talk about how important that connection is between setter and being an outside hitter?
I think it's really important. You know, I think the setter is the quarterback of the team, and I think it's important to just be able to hit every ball that she sets, and not everything's going to be perfect. And we talk a lot about how it's not always establishing a perfect connection, but being able to hit any ball and just adjust to each other. And I think we know how each other works really well, so I think that has really been translating.
Well, we saw you guys pull out a huge win against UCLA on Sunday. Big atmosphere at home. Can you talk about that atmosphere in the Galen Center? I think they said it was the largest attendance at a women's volleyball game at USC. Can you talk a little bit about Sunday night's game?
Yeah, I mean, it was electric in there for sure. I think obviously it's a huge rivalry, the Battle of LA, so that was just really cool to be a part of. That was my first time experiencing that rivalry. And there were so many kids and little girls and just little aspiring volleyball players and college kids, and there was just so much support, and the atmosphere was just really exciting and fun to play in, for sure.
You guys got a road trip this weekend to the East Coast. What are the goals for USC women's volleyball heading down the final stretch of conference play, getting into postseason in the next couple months here?
I think we're just going to try and focus on ourselves. I think a lot of times we can kind of get stuck on the last play or stuck on what the other team's doing, and I think right now there's some parts of our game that we really want to clean up and just kind of focus on a little bit more. So I think moving forward, we just got to play USC volleyball and just kind of focus on ourselves.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Allie. Good luck this weekend and fight on.
Thank you.
As USC nears the end of conference play, the Trojans will look to Allie Batenhorst to lead them into the postseason.
Yesterday at the Galen Center, the Trojans battled their first exhibition game of the preseason in what could be a good sign for the upcoming season. The squad faced off against UTSA at their home court in a tune-up for the nearing season. The new-look Trojans beat the Roadrunners 84-63. St. Thomas led USC in scoring with 21 points and added 2 assists. The Trojans knocked down 54% of their shots yesterday, while holding UTSA to under 40% from the field. The Trojans will have a big test on October 26th in their next exhibition, heading to Palm Desert, California to take on the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Now let's lob it to Thomas to discuss women's soccer. Women's soccer is back at USC, but it's not at their home stadium. Thomas Johnson has more on it. Thomas?
Thanks, Liam. Angel City FC, LAFC, and now USC Women's Soccer. I'm standing outside BMO Stadium, which normally plays host to high-profile events like concerts or NWSL and MLS matches. But tomorrow night, it's the Trojans who are playing host to Ohio State at BMO, a stadium with a capacity of 22,000. This is all because USC's on-campus home is still under construction for the rest of the regular season. But with all of this adversity, the Trojans still come into this one with some momentum. The team is undefeated in conference play so far and are winners of 4 straight games. They're finally being recognized on the national stage and earned the number 9 spot in the United Soccer Coaches Poll this morning. USC has tough tests upcoming, facing off against 3 ranked teams in the final 3 regular season games of the year. Hear from senior midfielder Elena Sampaio about the team's mentality heading into tough games.
You need to be happy for the things to happen naturally. And that's what our team brings. We're all pretty comfortable with each other, very really amazing culture. And I feel like for every hard game that we have, we always step up. We always joke that we perform better against better teams. And I think when the time comes, I'm next to literally my best friends, and I think that makes me more comfortable and more calm in those situations.
The Trojans will only play home games for the rest of the season, and it starts here at BMO tomorrow night. The matchup between USC and Ohio State is free and open to the public, with kickoff slated for 6 p.m. After their tilt with the number 15 Buckeyes, the Trojans will play host to number 16 Penn State and then number 10 UCLA before heading into postseason play. Should be an exciting opportunity for the Trojans to play in a professional stadium. For Annenberg Media, I'm Thomas Johnson. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Thomas. Excited to go to the game tomorrow? Well, it's time for the most controversial time of the show. Terrence and Casey, what do you guys have for us this week?
Welcome back to Trojan of the Week, where I've replaced my veteran counterpart with his younger, less sprightly copy. Welcome back to the couch, Mr. Casey Kasliner. For my Trojan of the Week, I'm choosing USC Women's Soccer's Maria Alagoa. This past week, Alagoa led USC in goal contributions in 2 road games, knocking off Illinois 3-2, with an Alagoa providing an assist in the 72nd minute, and against Northwestern starting the scoring with a 15th minute goal. Additionally, the Trojans moved up to number 9 in the coaches poll.
My pick is St. Thomas, and I'm not talking about the Apostle. The men's basketball star only missed 1 shot from the field and led all players with 21 points in USC's win over UTSA. Not only that, but he grabbed 6 rebounds and kept going after getting kicked in the head and suffering a bloody nose. The Northern Colorado transfer showed fans that this team should not be overlooked despite lower expectations.
Well, Casey, I think I'm going to go first. I'm going to start it off with a key thing you left out there. You said the win over UTSA, but it was an exhibition, a game that doesn't count on their record. Well, can we just clarify that real quickly?
Let me make something clear for you. I'd argue this game is actually more important than the soccer game.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That doesn't mean, Casey, I played an IM let me say this. I played an IM basketball game earlier this week. It meant more or just as much to USC basketball schedule than that UTSA
That's ridiculous.
Game.
Okay.
It was the exact same. It is the exact same
It's
effect.
the first game under Eric Musselman. It's your first season in the Big Ten, and it's a whole new roster.
It's not a real
This
game.
is a time for these players to audition.
It's not a real game.
St. Thomas
auditioned
for the number 1 scorer on this, to be the number 1 scorer, the number 1 option on this team.
This isn't a play, Casey. It's a basketball game.
I want to give you a little math lesson. Let's talk about efficiency really quickly.
Let's hear it.
St. Thomas took 8 shots. He made 7 of them.
Okay.
Alagoa took 3 shots, made 2 of them.
You can't
Last
compare
I checked,
soccer and basketball.
87.5% is bigger than 66%.
That doesn't make sense. It's a different shooting percentage.
Well, let me give you another.
Compare the two.
Well, let's
your percentages don't add up. You don't translate sport to sport.
Okay. Well, let me give you another statistic.
Let's keep it going.
Alagoa played in 164 out of the 180 minutes in those 2 games you talked about. That's 91% of playing time.
It's
St. Thomas played 20 minutes. That's half the game. So not only was he more efficient, but he was more efficient while playing in less percentage of the game.
That's percentage of the game? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
How is that ridiculous?
The halves in soccer are longer than a game of basketball.
Exactly, and she still only took 3 shots.
Only took 3 shots, making 2 of them? Is that what you were going to say?
And he took 8 and made 7. What's your point?
I can hear it in your voice that you're kind of faltering here, pal.
No.
It's just not really working the same for you.
Well, look, overall, this game, I can't believe you said it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
It does. This is a time for these players to audition for roster spots.
Audition. They already are on the roster.
But get actual playing time.
In a few weeks when the game starts, is it when the USC's first game, is it going to say 1-0?
Yes.
No, it's not, Casey. No, it's not.
It should.
That's just not how that works.
Well, look, at the end of the day, it's a brand new team, and we had 0 expectations, and he rose to the occasion.
Rose to the occasion in an exhibition game. I just want to make that very clear one last time.
Well, I guess we have to agree to disagree yet again.
Okay, completely wrong. Well, we'd love to wrap it up more with Trojan of the Week, but looking forward, we're looking into the we're looking forward at some NFL trades that went down with two wide receivers heading to the AFC East.
And the Dodgers are in a close NLCS battle with the Mets. We'll talk about that series next on Sports Scene.
Hey, sorry, I couldn't hear like a transition. I just went for it a second.
Let me tell you how we amplify our Latine voices. Check out Dímelo. We have it all.
Deportes.
Entertainment. Noticias. ¿Qué tal? Soy Mariela Gómez y bienvenidos a Dímelo Ahora.
Radio and podcasting.
Comida y cultura. Digital social media.
¿A qué equipo le vas tú? LA Galaxy o LAFC? Dímelo is the only Latine-focused media outlet at USC. Dímelo. We have it all.
Dímelo. We have it all.
Want quality name brand carpet for less?
Call Empire and you can get quality carpet at the lowest price guaranteed. And no payments for 1 year.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today.
I've replaced your shoelaces with fruit by the foot.
So you did. I replaced your fingers with fruit by the foot.
Bravo. I replaced your bones with fruit by the foot.
Indeed you have. I replaced your guitar strings with fruit by the foot.
Seems like a step backwards, but alright. I replaced your DNA with fruit by the foot. That would be end of game, my friend.
Fruit by the foot. Fruit-flavored snack.
The Los Angeles Dodgers were able to sweep past the San Diego Padres in the divisional round And now we're all evened up against the New York Mets in the National League Championship Series, 1-1.
Remind just for the Mets. Swinging a drive in the air, pretty well hit right center. Pages back at the track near the wall. It is gone! A grand slam for Mark Vientos on a 3-2 pitch. He clears the bases.
After winning 3 games in a row, 2 to finish off the Padres and a dominating Game 1 win at home against the New York Mets, the Dodgers slowed up on Monday in a 7-3 loss at Dodger Stadium. The question for the Dodgers remains their starting pitching, and after turning to the bullpen game on Monday, their lack of arms might be a turning point in the series. The offense will have to find a way to wake up the bat of Shohei Ohtani if they want success for the remainder of the postseason, as the best hitter on the squad has seemingly
drive in the air,
cold.
pretty well hit right center. Pages back at the track.
Be too reactive. I don't really see the benefit. We got to just make sure that our guys are just still swinging the bat well. And quite frankly, I want Shohei to get 5 at-bats a game. So I think he's our best hitter, and I want him up there 5 times.
The Dodgers have a big test tonight in Game 3 heading to Citi Field in Queens, New York with Walker Buehler taking on Luis Severino. Now over to Daniel, who is breaking down the trade frenzy that happened this week in the NFL.
After an action-packed game between the New York Jets and Buffalo Bills on Monday night, both teams were active in the trade market and acquired big-name wide receivers. The Las Vegas Raiders traded Davante Adams to the Jets after he requested a trade earlier in the season. Adams is reuniting with quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who he played with in Green Bay for 8 seasons. The Jets made the move after falling to 2-4 on the season. The Bills made the move to get Amari Cooper, who is having a slow start to the year, but is coming off consecutive seasons of 70 catches and over 1,100 receiving yards. Buffalo made the move to fill a need at wide receiver after trading Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans. The Raiders traded Adams to the Jets and received a conditional 3rd-round pick that can turn into a 2nd-rounder if he makes an All-Pro team or a Super Bowl. Buffalo received Cooper and a 6th-round pick and sent a 3rd and 7th-round pick back to Cleveland. Adams is expected to suit up this week for the Jets against Pittsburgh Sunday night, while Cooper's status against the Tennessee Titans is uncertain. Now back to the studio for one of the few funny moments on Saturday.
Thanks, Daniel. Following USC's loss to Penn State last weekend, a video of a Penn State fan went viral on X showing that he could pay to run out with the Trojan football squad. USC offers an ultimate Trojan experience where fans and a guest can be escorted onto the field an hour before kickoff to run out with the Trojans as they take on the field. The experience cost varies by game, ranging from $1,400 to $1,800, but a Penn State fan discovered a loophole. The package didn't specify it was for USC fans only. So, decked out in Nittany Lions gear, he jumped at the chance to troll the Trojans. So this is definitely a unique take that USC has taken on fundraising. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I mean, with USC 3-3 now, I'm not surprised if ticket sales have dropped and if this is what they need to do to fund the program.
Yeah, I couldn't like it more. I think it's the Big Ten energy. It's the energy that Penn State is bringing all game long. They had a huge student and fan section throughout the game. That's the energy that the Big Ten provides, and that translates to the game.
I don't know, you guys. I think this is weird, especially when the other team can run out and have this be a part of this tradition that USC has had for years, and especially to pay for it. Do we really think that amount of money is going to benefit the program? I'm not too sure about it, but that pretty much wrapped things up here on our end. Thank you so much for tuning into Sports Scene. I'm Grace Schneider.
I'm Liam Irvin.
And I'm Devin Diet. See you next time.